All right, starting chapter 8. I hope you all did good on your test. I'm sure you did amazing. And so now we're going to talk about solving systems of algebraic equations. So this chapter is talking about matrix algebra. So we'll talk about matrices and we'll talk about all that stuff, but you got to start with what does this help you with? What do matrices help shortcut? What are some ways to help you with that? So before we can do that, we have to do the first part, which is solving systems algebraically. So there are two main ways to solve systems of algebra, or systems of algebraic equations. They are elimination and substitution. So elimination and substitution are ways that you can break down and solve for different equations. So those are the two ways you're going to be able to do it. Some of you are going to like substitution and some of you are going to like elimination. It's totally up to you. And so what they're going to do in this lesson is they're going to teach you how to do that. All right? So our first equation, this is example 1. So those are your two equations. So what they're going to do is they're going to have you solving for x and y, all right? So your goal here is to solve for x and y. What you're trying to do is find the answers. So you're using substitution, elimination, and two methods to do this. So if I was going to do this and I said we have to do this with substitution, what would that be? Well, we have to solve for one, either x or y, individually in one of the two equations, and then you have to plug it back in. So let's say that we're going to start with y. Solve with y using the second equation. So 7x minus 2y equals negative 11. So what do I do first? I have to move I'm going to solve for y by itself. So subtract 7x from both sides. So I have negative 2y equals negative 11, negative 7x. Now what do? Divide through by negative 2. When I do that, I'm left with y equals a positive 11 over 2 minus or plus 7 over 2x. All right, so that's what you're left with when you solve it. All right, any questions there? Okay, so sorry. Oops. That's going to make a difference. All right, so I have this wrong. So plus, so I subtract. This is no here. It's going to be positive. So this is going to be negative, and that's going to be negative. So I'm sorry, I made a mistake mathematically. So go through there. Now, next thing. So y equals 11 over 2, negative 11 over 2 minus 7 halves over 2. All right, 7x over 2. So once you have that, now you can't plug that back into the same equation, okay? You can't do that. That's typically, sometimes people make that mistake. You gotta remember that you have to plug it into substitution into the other equation. So we have y, so 6x minus 5 parentheses, and this is what y is, negative 7x minus 11 over 2, parentheses, and then equals negative 43. So now what do? Well, we just have to do the math. We have to move stuff around. So 6x minus, so minus a minus becomes a positive 35 over 2, x minus or plus 55 over 2 equals negative 43. Now what do? Well, combine like terms. What's the quickest and easiest way to do that is to get rid of the fraction. The quickest way to do that is to get rid of the fraction. How can I do that? Multiply through the whole equation by 2. If I do that, you're left with 12x plus 35x plus 55 equals a negative 86. Okay, so because I go 2 times this is going to be 12, 2 times 35 over 2 is going to be 35, And 2 times 55 over 2 is going to be 55. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of that denominator, and now it's going to be easier math work. Because what I do to one side, I must do to the other, so if I do it to the whole thing, it works. So I subtract 55, and I combine these two. So 35 plus 25, or versus 12 is 47. X equals 1, carry the 1, 141, negative. So negative 141, right? What do I do? Divide by 47. X is going to be equal to a negative 3. All right, so once I find negative 3, what do? I take that 3 and I sub it back in over here. Into this equation. Y equals negative 11 halves minus 7 over 2 minus 3. So when I do the math work here, I'm going to be left with what? Y equals negative 11 over 2. So it's going to be plus 21 over 2. And so negative 11 plus 21 is going to be y equals 10 over 2, which is 5. So negative 3 and 5. And that's how you would do that problem using the substitution method. All right? So that's the first method. Okay, that's the first method. The second method, and we'll do a different problem with this, but you'll eliminate, and I'll show you how to eliminate in about 30 seconds. We're going to add it and subtract it, and you'll understand in a second. All right? So, any questions on this type of problem? Okay? So, what they do, so we got negative 3, positive 5. So, I'm going to erase this. We're going to use the same problem, same problem, and I'm going to show you how to do elimination. All right? Or use addition or subtraction. Okay? So, let me show you how you do that. So, what you do first is you want to eliminate an x or a y. So what you're going to do is you're going to eliminate an x or a y. How can you eliminate an x or a y? The way to eliminate an x or a y in this equation is by getting them to be opposite signs, finding the ones with an opposite sign and adding them. So negative 5 plus a positive 2 is going to eliminate. Now, you can't just eliminate 5 and 2 because that's actually going to give you a negative 3. So the way to get rid of that is to multiply the whole top equation by 2, because this is 2. What you need to do is find the least common multiple of 2 and 5. So that would be 10, okay? So we're going to be 5 here. So when I do that, what I'm really left with is 12x minus 10y equals negative 86. And then 35x plus 10y equals 55, negative 55. Draw the line. So if I add these two, this cancels. Notice? So 12 plus 35 is 47x. Negative 10y plus positive 10y gives you 0. And you're left with 86 plus 55, 141. Negative 141. Divide by 47. Divide by 47. X equals negative 3. So take that 3, plug it back in, and you'll get the same answer of 5. All right? Any questions to that degree? Okay, so you can do it either elimination or substitution. They will tell you, they will let you do either one, your choice. It's a very easy choice depending on what the problems are. All right? Okay, so substitution and elimination are the ways to do simple algebraic equations. So let's do another problem. (3x minus 4y equals 8). Negative 8, sorry. I'll take my book up here to make it easier. And 6x minus 8y equals 12. So, what am I going to do? I want to get these to have a common thing so I can eliminate. Okay, so I can eliminate, all right? So, what is a common thing? So, what do I need to do to get these two signs to be different? I need to multiply through by a negative number. Good. So I need to multiply through by a negative number. And what number multiple, least common multiple, is negative 8. Good. So negative 2 times this. So here's what I'm left with. Watch carefully. Negative 6x plus 8y equals a positive 16. Good. So everybody follow that? So what I did is I just wrote it underneath so I can do this. So this is the top equation. So here we go. 6x plus negative 6y is 0. 8y minus 8y plus 8y is going to give me 0 equals 28. 0 equals 28. You have a problem? Yes. So this would be a false statement. You would not be allowed to say this. So therefore, this does not, there's no answer to this equation. There's no answer to that equation. But that's how you would solve it quickly and efficiently. All right? Any questions? All right, good. So let's erase. Do another one. All right, so I know I'm going fast. Does anybody have any specific questions? All right, so let's do another one here. They give you an equation, 4x plus 6y. Can't draw a y. Don't make fun of me in class about that. 12. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 2. So they set it up already for you. Okay, you guys agree? They set it up for you? Yeah, so all you have to do is plug in for y, right? So we just do that, okay? When we do that, we're left with 4x plus, so we put in this stuff for y, so 6 times negative 2/3 x plus 2 equals 12. So 6 times 2/3 is going to give me 4x plus, it's going to give me a negative 4x plus 12 equals 12. 4x minus this x is going to give you 0 plus 12 equals 12. So what do we have? So it's true, right? And we notice that we can't solve it, but there's an infinite number of numbers. In other words, any number I put in, when I put a number in for x, I'm going to be able to solve for a y. Why is that? Because I can plug in 0. And if I plug in 3, if I put 3 in, that's 0. So 0. So there are going to be multiple answers for this equation. All right? And so that's how you would look at that. It says it's an infinite number of solutions. All right? If you see it and do it that way. All right? Okay, so last example. Example number 5. Example 5. Here we go. Here's where it gets important. This is where we have to do a little bit of extra work here. 2x minus y plus 3z. Now we have 3 variables. 3 variables. I'll put a little tick mark through the middle, make it a little bit easier. So what they're having you do, so you have 3 equations, you have 3 variables, this makes it more complicated. Now what you're going to have to do is you have to figure out how to eliminate first, you're going to have to eliminate one of the variables in 2 of the equations. So you have to find 2 equations that you can easily eliminate a variable. So how would you do that? Okay, so one of the ways to do that is to multiply through one of those equations by 2 to be able to eliminate an equation, or if it's already set up to eliminate equations, then use those 2. So looking at it, and of course I copied it wrong. No, they copied it wrong. So what are the 2 equations we can do that very quickly with? These 2. The first 2, okay? So it's going to be 2x minus y plus 3z equals 7. And this one, I just have to multiply through by a negative 2. When I do that, I get negative 2x plus 4y minus 8, or plus 8z equals 38. Line. So now I add them. These cancel. I'm left with 0. Minus y plus 4y is going to give me a 3y. 3z plus 8z is 11z. Equals 7 plus 38 is 45. So now, do I have an equation that only has 2 variables? Yes. Okay, it has 2 variables. Did I? Oh man. Messed up this equation. Copying's hard. So that's plus, so this means this is minus. Oh man, sorry guys. Minus, and this is going to be negative 5. Okay, so there's my equation. Everybody follow that? I'm sorry about that. So negative 5. So I made a mistake on my copying. Should double check carefully there before I go on. Now, once I find one, my next step is I got to plug it in, or I got to find something and eliminate something. So the next step I want to do is I want to eliminate. Can I eliminate x? Can I eliminate x in these other 2 equations? In 2 other equations. So can I find 2 other equations, these 2, top and bottom, to eliminate x? Is there another way to eliminate x? So what would that be? How would I do that? All right, or do this one and this one. So you want to compare those equations. So I can get rid of x again by multiplying through by a different number this time. And that different number is going to be negative 3x plus 2y minus 4z equals negative 19. So we're going to multiply through by negative 3. So what is that going to be? So I'm going to write them underneath here. Negative 3x, I'm sorry, positive 3. So multiply through by positive 3. So it's going to be 3x plus 6y minus 12z equals 3 times 19, 27, 50, right? 57, negative 57. So now, here we go. Negative 3x plus 3, so that gives you 0. 4y plus 6y, 10y, minus z minus 12 is going to give me minus 13z equals 12, so 45. All right, negative 45, negative 45. So, now what? So we have y, z, 45, y, z, 45. So now, look at our 2 equations. I'm going to combine these equations for you. Negative 5y plus 11z equals 45. 10y minus 13z equals negative 45. So what can I do to eliminate these 2 equations? Very good. Multiply the top by a positive 2. 2 times 5 is 10, negative 10y plus 22z equals 90. So now I do the math. Add them together. 0. 22 plus a negative 35 is going to give me a 9z equals 90 minus 45 is 45. Z equals 5. So once I find one of my z's, I can now plug back in any equation I want. So if I want to take the z and plug it in here, fine. If I want to plug it in here, fine. Doesn't matter which one. So we'll plug it into here. 10y minus 13 times 5 equals negative 45. 13 times 5 is going to be 65. So 10y minus 65 equals negative 45. Add 65. Add 65. 10y equals 20. Divide by 10. Divide by 10, y equals 2. So now, you have your z, you have your y. We just got to plug it back in. So if we take these and plug them back in, our y is, so it's going to be 2x minus 2 is minus 2 plus 3 to the times 5 equals 7. So you're left with 2x plus 13 equals 7, minus 13, 2x equals negative 6, x equals negative 3. So, your equation, your three answers are going to be very simple, right? It's not that simple. It's not that easy. So, I understand it's difficult, but that's what you're going to do to break down these equations and find your linear equations to these problems. All right? Any questions on this? If you have questions, see me tomorrow in class and I will help you. All right? Okay, so good luck. We'll talk soon. That is a long lesson.